Everybody, this is what, 15 years ago.
Yeah, it was a lot.
But everybody, we were at convention, Young Jeopardy convention, and everybody was kind of suppressed. And they put this song on, and we couldn't help ourselves.
Oh my God.
We were like on the chairs, and everybody, all the Young Jeopardy people were
Because they were all 70 or above.
like, 70 or above, they were like chair dancing. We were crazy. And they couldn't start. They wanted to go to the next segment, you know, but we kept dancing. And so they just kept playing the music. So I love that because here's the thing is that we're all responsible for our personal energy, right? Yeah. And what we bring to the table. And we often think that circumstances or what we ate or how much sleep we got is the factor in our energy. You know, I say, oh, I'm so exhausted, but really, and I read a really great study about that too, about people who say they're exhausted all the time are really lonely. Like there's actually a study around that it's not about lack of sleep, which we always think if somebody says I'm exhausted, it's about connection. And which I thought, I was like, that was a huge aha moment for me when I read that. It's really about lack of connection. And so the energy that we bring into a room, into our life, it's predicated on you, like what you can, and if you need to be responsible. So if cranking a song in your car, you know, I mean, that gets me, if I'm having kind of like a low day or whatever, I get in that Tesla, I open the sunroof, I get a little sun, and I crank up the stereo, and you can't help but be in a better mood when you get home, right? So, energy's everything, and what you bring to the table is contagious. That's the other part. So thank you guys for coming today, and we're going to have a great day, and we have a great lineup of people that are going to present topics that are passionate to them. And we're going to start first with one of my best friends and a woman who I couldn't live life without, Marianne Niehaus. And what I love about Marianne is when I look back at that convention in Young Jeopardy 15 years ago, whatever it was, I don't even, it was a long time.
Yeah, 10 or 11, yeah.
And who she's become in Young Jeopardy and in her life because of her commitment to personal development is unbelievable. And it would be easy to sort of be a victim of your circumstances, and she was really just, you know, living hand to mouth, essentially. And the thing is that Marianne always had an unbelievable attitude through it, you know, and that was one of the things that we loved about her. And she had no idea what was in front of her when she said yes to Tom. When she would come in and she was doing another job, she had a full-time job, and she would come in here and be working on her other job and doing Young Jeopardy kind of part-time. And Tom would go, oh, hey, Marianne, scratch my yeah, I think that, you know, that love languages, like scratch my back should be like one of his love languages. And which that all kind of circles. But Marianne said yes, and I think it was, we started out part-time, and then we realized that we absolutely could not live our life without Marianne, and she is the person that juggles so many different things and always has an unbelievably positive attitude doesn't get caught up in Tom's idiosyncrasies, which is to say, the last assistant we had ended up on the phone crying to me. It was a guy too. Jeez, I just can't take it anymore. I'm so sorry, Catherine.
We're not saying anything.
Yeah. But she just rolls with it, right? And who she's becoming, Longevity, as a leader is absolutely just makes my heart swell. And I learn something from her every time she presents. So Marianne Niehaus, come on out.
Are you guys hot at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys can stop dancing.
I just didn't want to. So I'm gonna today I'm gonna title of my talk is called Seek Clarity. And this is something that I started getting really passionate about because I think what happens in our lives, right? We kind of flounder a little bit. We kind of go through life and things happening, and we don't really have a plan or direction, right? We got a job, we're married, we have kids, and what have you. So something Denise asked me to talk a little bit about was what's your intention today, right? How many times we walk into a room and go, today I want to get this out of, or I want to learn one thing, or I want to take something away with me that I can use to really motivate myself in what I'm doing. So what's your intention? I want you to write this down. What's your intention? My intention, what I want to get out today, and I got to turn this light off. This drives me crazy. Mostly because this is like a storeroom. Okay.
It's a feng shui.
It's a feng shui thing, right? The light's got to be off. But anyway, so I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with Ready for Shark, this book. Oh my God, it's so awesome. I know a lot of people are reading this book right now within the group. He spoke at GoPro. It was so funny because I missed his speech. And I know, like everybody's like, what? And so I got the book and I did all that stuff, but I still haven't watched. I got to watch his talk at GoPro. Not that I haven't seen a lot of his videos, but I heard it was really, really awesome. So anyway, so I want to just talk about the getting clear on things, because one of the things they say, you create, you're going on vacation, you know where you're going to go. And you know what flights you got to get, and what hotels you got to book, and how much money you got to have when you get there. And we never really plan our life like that. We just kind of go through, well, most of us, let's just say. People who are successful and have, again, this word keeps coming into my life, habits. And the one thing, 65 days and a wake up. What kind of habits are we creating? So how do we seek clarity, and how do we create good habits around getting clarity? Okay. Next slide, please. So I love this quote, and it is out of the book. But dream lofty dreams, and as you dream, so shall you become. Or I always say so shall you, but it says shall become. Your vision is the promise of what you shall one day be. Your ideal is the prophecy of what you shall at last unveil. So think about where we're going here in longevity, in life, in we talk about personal development, and so I think as we go along and we start getting digging deeper, right? It's like peeling the onion away. Like, oh, when I first got into longevity, all I wanted to do was get my products paid for. Is anybody, right? Well, I just want to, are you kidding? I got to buy all this stuff? Okay, well, I want to get it paid for, so I work for that. At some point, I really needed a new car. I had to get to that, that car bonus. And I just remember I was shopping for a new car. My husband's like, I go, don't worry, next month I'll have the car bonus. And I did. I had like this clarity of what I needed, what I wanted. What I'm finding is, as you keep going further and further and further, that clarity, you have to keep restructuring it. You have to keep it has to keep evolving. And so let's happening is you have to read, more books. You have to get deeper. You have to peel the onions away, or peel the pieces of the onion away. Okay, go ahead. So here's what I want you to do. I've got some questions up here, and I want you to rate yourself a 1 to 5. Okay. I know who I am. I'm clear about my values, strengths, and weaknesses. I did a class with Dan Walshman. If you guys, he was on the radio show. He's the guy that wrote the Engine Conversation. And one of the tasks that we had to do was we had to text to our peers and say, tell me one thing that you think I'm really strong in, and tell me one thing, what my weakness is. And what was interesting, what I found out was, and he said this might happen, was a lot of people said, I have a big heart. I have a lot of heart. And that was a real strength of mine. But guess what? It's also my weakness. So my weakness is that I have a big heart, right? I don't say no enough. I don't control, I am more than most of you. How many of you have helped in a situation at some point where it was like critical, like, right? And so, anyway, and that's my job, that's what I do, but that's who I am. And so for me to start seeking clarity for myself of, who am I? Who am I? I've got a big heart. Okay, but what does that mean? Peel that away. What is it? What's good about it? What's bad about it? What's the strength and the weakness? And I thought that was really interesting because Dan Walshman said the same thing for him, because he's a real, kind of ADD kind of guy, and so he's always like, the next time he's a big squirrel. And so he said it's a strength and it's a weakness all at the same time. So what's your strengths and what's your weaknesses, and how address that? Because I think a lot of times we don't even take time to look at what our strengths and our weaknesses are, or we're like, I just suck at that. Have you ever okay, Elizabeth, is that your name, right? Did I meet you today? Elizabeth's the guest. So as you can imagine, I meet so many people, and I'm like, I am going to remember this lady's name. And because I always say, my whole thing was, I always suck at that. But you know what? I want to be better at that. And that's part of my clarity of really getting to know people and have, the interviews and whatever we're doing every day. So part of my weakness was that I will meet all these people, shake their hand, love them to death, can never remember them. So, Elizabeth, to day 1, new habit. I'm remembering it. All right. Okay, I know what I want. How many of us really know what we want? I mean, really deep down inside. And it's so funny because I always tell a story about how I wrote down everything I hated about my job because I owned my own business, right? Marketing, advertising business for 18 years. And I always say, I woke up one day and I'm like, oh my God, my job sucks. I own the business. What do I really want to be doing? And I wrote down, I said one thing. I want to have coffee with my friends and get paid for it. It's my motto. But you know what? I want to have solutions for them, right? How many times you sit down with our friends and maybe have that one-on-one and they're like, oh my God, I just got diagnosed with this, or my husband's getting laid off. And before it was always like, oh, that's too bad. I don't know what to say. But now I do, right? So my clarity is that I want to have solutions for people. But I know what I want. I'm clear about my goals and passion. Okay, rate yourself on this 1 to 5, right? 1 being not so good, 5 being, I forgot to tell you that part. Or you could do it however, 1 to 5. 5, I'm awesome. I know exactly what I want. But 9 times out of 10, goals have changed, right, since we got here. We're growing every day. And so our clarity gets a little mucked up sometimes. You find that? You're just like, when I got here, I wanted this, but now I want that. I got other things, and dynamics have changed. My kids have moved out. Now we're, empty nesters most of the time. Okay. I know how to get what I want, and I have a plan to achieve. Yes. 1 to 5. Yeah. Yeah. You have such clarity, and it's obvious. It's obvious. But a lot of us don't, right? A lot of us are still kind of wondering a little bit about what it is that we want. Oh. Sorry. All right. So go to the next one. Please. Okay. What do you want to be and how will you become that? So seeking clarity, like what do you want to be the person standing up here training? A lot of people say, I don't want to be. That's not who I want to be. I don't want to be that person. Could you be that person? Is that what you want to be? You know, what's it going to take for you to get up here? If you don't have that clarity around that, you don't know what you need to do. You don't know what books you need to do. You don't know what classes you need to do. You know, do you want to be, okay, James, for instance, is an expert on the nutrition. Seriously. He's probably like a little mini Dr. Wallach or a big Dr. Wallach. But, you know, supersize. Double fries. You know, but that is something that he's very passionate about and he's really focused on it. But I don't know if he's got his clarity yet about what he's going to do with all that. You know, what, do you have clarity around that?
No?
No.
That's why he's here.
That's why he's taking notes. Right? But think about that. Is what you're doing, is what you're passionate about, is that going to get you to where you want to go? And who are you going to be when you get there? Like Denise said, the person I was when I first, now, don't get me wrong, I've stood in front of people and trained before, long before I came here. I own my own business.
I did presentations in front of large organizations, small organizations, presidents of companies, big CEOs. One of our clients was Subaru. You know, I mean, I sat in rooms with really big people and you know, and presented. I just felt like it was purposeful, right? And so I really didn't have clarity on what my passion was. And I think that day I woke up and I'm like, I hate my job because I didn't have any clarity anymore. I didn't have any passion about what I was doing. I just knew that I needed to be doing something else and I needed to be doing more. And I needed to be reaching out and helping more people. And I had so much more to take. How many of you feel like you're right? Yeah. So figuring out what your strengths are. Here's one thing that some of the reading that I've done, which I think is kind of interesting because maybe there's 10 things that you need, these skills, right? We have these skills in network marketing that we need. And some of them you may really suck at, right? Like the whole name thing, I think that's really important. And you're meeting people and building relationships and you meet them 3 times and you still can't remember what their name is. Oh my gosh, she looks so familiar. But thus the picture and for contact mapping. But I want, you know, so what is, you know, how am I going to develop that? And like with Elizabeth today, I touched her hand and she said her name and I said my name and I made it a point, right, to get to know who she was. And some of you are great at that. You're great at that. But is that a strength or a weakness that you need to build your business? And so one of the things was, it says, okay, if you've got, you need these 10 skills and you can be okay in some of them. And some of them are already awesome. You know, there's some things like for me standing up here, I'm pretty comfortable because I didn't know. I didn't know. I slowly kept moving forward. So that I'm like, all right, I think I do want to. Because in the beginning, I didn't want to necessarily stand up. Really, because I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I didn't understand it. And so getting that clarity around what do you want to do here? What's your intention of being in longevity? You know, we talk about ranks and people are always like, oh, I want to be a 5-star. What does that really mean? What does that really mean to become a 5-star? You know, talking to Denise and, you know, different 5-stars, talk to them. Do you really want to know what it took to get there, to get up and stand up and, you know, I mean, speaking at GoPro, those are things that I know, you know, for a fact. I can remember sitting in a meeting with Denise and I remember, and this is actually previous to longevity, but she was working with a mentor. And I'm pretty sure at that time, she never thought where she was going to go. We're just deciding to work with a mentor. But when she started getting clarity, which I've seen over, you know, Denise and I have known each other for a long time, and we've both grown in many ways, and watching her get her clarity,
of where she's going. And so seeking that clarity and figuring out who do you want to be. Okay, then there's this emotion tied to it, right? How are you gonna feel? And I don't want to keep saying about standing up here because I know some of you may not even have that in your radar. It might show up at some point. But how are you gonna feel when you get there? You know, think about, so I was talking about planning the vacation, right? And so you're planning this vacation and you have all this anticipation of excitement and you're gonna get there. And then, you know, you're walking in the hotel, you're like, well, this is not really what I thought it was gonna be. I don't know about you guys, but if the bed's not comfortable, the whole room sucks. I am a bed snob. You know, but, okay, so then you're like, all right, the pillow's not. She carries her pillow with her. I don't know if you know that, but she takes her pillow. But anyway, so, you know, so we always have this anticipated excitement, and like what you said earlier, you bring the energy, right? It's like, all right, no big deal, you know, we'll just get through it. And so, are you gonna be, one of the things that I wanted to have, and this is what has benefited me in this position, especially working with Tom all the time, was I just wanted things to roll. I don't want it to be anything personal. I just wanted things to roll off. That person, right? I had to become that person because I would never have been able to be here. And here's another thing. And so it's like, and then here's the crazy thing. Don't try to say something to me and think I'm going to think through it. Because I don't. I take it for what it is and just move on, right? And so I'm not thinking about it. 2 hours later, somebody comes in and goes, what did you think about? I wasn't even, you know, they said, I didn't think much about it. So anyway, but I wanted to be that person. And so I've worked really hard to be that because first of all, I didn't want to be that uptight, you know, woman at home. I didn't want to be that person. I wanted to be supportive and respectful. And so it's just interesting as I'm seeking clarity now, like I'm at this next thing and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta get clear here. I gotta get clear where I'm going and what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And that's why I was so interested in actually coming out here and speaking with you about this because I don't think we spend enough time on it. And ironically, we had Alex Tyson on one of our trainings the other night, and him and I, and matter of fact, it was when he was here for the ethics thing, and he goes, "We could do a complete training on just giving you clarity." I mean, that could be an entire day, you know, because as I'm going through this chapter, and those of you that are working on this and you're getting into this, I mean, this is deep stuff on getting your clarity, which is really looks at what is your future and how are you seeing yourself in the future. All right, go one more.
The camera keeps shutting off.
Is that what's happening?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We're having a little technical problem. Technical difficulties over there. So, okay, I'm just going to read a couple of these questions that Brendan has in here. And so which things are you absolutely clear about that help you perform better? And, excuse me, he's talking about your peers. Okay, and it doesn't necessarily mean, you know, your peers, because really in this business we're all independents. But I highly recommend if you're seeking something, right, and you're getting clarity on it, to talk to the people that have been there, that have done it. And one of the things when I was looking at ranking up, somebody said, call 5 people that have already done it and get a tip from them, right? Get some clarity from them. Okay. What do you focus on to stay clear about what matters most? When you have clarity, you know what things to say no to. See, this is where my whole heart thing was. I was saying yes to everything, yes to everything, yes to everything. And even Denise is like, you gotta have boundaries.
I'm like, don't tell him I told you.
I know, don't tell Mom I said that. But, you know, I'm saying yes to everything, and believe me, I mean, this guy's got, you know, he's got ideas every day. So there's so many, you know, and we burned through that idea and we're on to the next one. So, anyway, it is kind of hard to say, you know, but anyway, so, when you get clarity, then you know what to say. You know, what aren't you clear about, and how does that affect your performance? You know, if you don't have clarity on what you're doing and what, you know, why you're here, and, you know, then all of a sudden you're doing something over here, you're doing something over there, and you are spread too thin and overwhelmed. Anybody felt like that? No. Maybe just Yeah, yeah. But yeah, if you're saying so getting that clarity and seeking what it is, why you're doing what you're doing. And one of the things, I don't know if you guys, because I'm doing 2 trainings, and this is, I actually started doing this when I went through the Dan Walshman training, which was 30 days awesome, and it was intense, but it was well worth it. And so a lot of things kind of came out of that I'm putting into play now. Took me a little bit of time, but this Empowered Women's Call, and we're having, it's for women only, guys, and I'm so sorry, but just get over it. And we have people pop on, we're like, women only. Can I say it for a little while? No. And Denise has graced us with her presence on there, but that was some clarity that I got. I was like, I want to give back. How can I give back? And that was one way, was to create this group, and then also the engage and educate. And we had Dan Walshman on there. We're going to have different guests on their training, but that was something that I felt that I could help to get back into the community, and so that's some clarity that I got. Okay, what do you do when you're feeling uncertain and undirected? Confused, nothing. You don't know what you're supposed to be doing. You don't know who you're supposed to be talking to. Okay, if you had to explain to someone you were mentoring, and this is good, what is it that makes you successful? What would you say? If somebody asked you, what makes you successful? In what you're doing, could you really answer that? I mean, it's some.
There's a lot of things.
A lot of things.
There's a lot of
Yeah. Yeah, accumulation of who you are and what's your intention of who you want to be. I love that, because we're talking about the future and what's it going to feel like. So back to the vacation thing, you get excited, you just can't wait, you're anticipating all this stuff, and then you get there and you go through it, and then the vacation's over and you're back home, and now what? You're like, okay, I gotta plan another vacation, right? So what's your goals? What's your clarity? What are you planning? Get there, and then you're gonna have another goal, and it's gonna be bigger. And guess what? After you get back from that vacation, are you kind of a little bit different person? You've seen some cool things, you've experienced stuff. Same thing with your journey in longevity and where you're going. Okay, what else do you know about yourself beyond your values and strengths? And let me tell you, your values are really important about who you are and who you're attracting. Okay? Because when sometimes, okay, so I was always, when I was poor, guess people. I was poor. I attracted poor people. How do you work in a business where you need people to have money, but you don't have money yourself, right? So I needed to start attracting people who had money. So I had to become somebody who had money. Think about that. I had to start a different mindset, right, of abundance. Okay? Okay, so values, strengths, and plans. What make you successful? So what else do you know about yourself beyond your values and strengths and plans that make you successful? Yeah. Okay. I don't even know what my time is. Yeah. All right. So good. Answer those questions. Get some awareness. Get some clarity. Get this book, and it'll just tear you down. Put you back up again.
You can get it for free and just pay.
Yeah, you can actually get it for free, and I can't remember what the website is. Yeah, I'll post the website up so that we know. But yeah, $20. Okay, so who?
Yeah, $7.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Thank you guys. Thanks so much.
So two of the things when you were talking, I go to Al-Anon, and my sponsor was, and she's an Al-Anon sponsor and an AA sponsor. And I don't know if you know. Do you know what?
But that is a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, so Al-Anon is for people, friends and family members affected by alcohol and alcoholism or addiction. So, and I somehow have been in that category for most of my life, surrounded by people who are alcoholics or addicts. And so Tom, as you know, has been sober for 30 years. But anyway, my sponsor is both alcoholic and in Al-Anon. And she said that she had a gal call her up the other day and said, my sponsor told me to take the list of everybody in this meeting and call them up, because she's newly sober, call them up and ask people how they stayed sober at the beginning.
Wow.
And so when you were talking about calling up the 5 stars and finding out, what is it? You know, what is it? How did you get where you got? You know, give me 3 things that you think are important to do. That's really a powerful thing to do. So that was one that I was thinking of. And then the other thing is that when you talk about clarity and who you want to be, how you want to show up, what is it that you want to have in your life, your clarity is based on your values. And I'm going to go into values a little bit more. But, and you should have, and I'll pass out a sheet that has a whole slew of values that you can go through. Because who you are in the world is your values. So for me, and Brene Brown says, whittle it down to like 2, maybe 3. And so for me, my values are love, learning, and then if I were to pick 2 more, it would be gratitude and abundance. So everything I do in my life is based on those 4 things. So getting really clear on your values is super important. And not only that, for your teammates, knowing what their values are is going to give you insight into who they want to be, how they want to show up, and how you can also support them and recognize them, right? So, okay, so our next, I love this guy because, you know, here's the thing is, we're all here because we want to step out of the box. Nobody in this room is the sort of person who's like, okay, I just want to go to my job, I just want to do my job, go home, have dinner, watch some TV, drink a beer, and go to bed, right? Like, that's nobody in this room. We all want to step out and make a difference. And the crazy thing about network marketing is it takes an unbelievable amount of courage to do that. And especially when you've been a professional who's practiced in their professional realm for 20 plus years, and they are really good at what they do, but then they figure out that there's a piece missing. And the piece that's missing takes, is driving them to the point of stepping out of the box and being courageous enough to say, you know what, I'm going to go this other direction now. And that's what Steve Blackburn did. He was a professional architect, hugely successful, built rec centers and community centers all over the country. And at a certain point, he said, you know what, I'm really good at what I do, but it's just not fulfilling me anymore. And he left his professional career to be a professional network marketer. And I think that takes an unbelievable amount of courage. So Steve, come on up.
You did that.
Hey everybody, welcome to everybody online. Great to see everyone. Today we're going to talk about your mind, your mindset. And specifically I want to talk about positive mental attitude. And I want to talk about your passion. And I want to talk about your dreams and how to fulfill all of that. Okay? But first we have some order of business. Does anybody own this?
Right.
That's yours. Brittany, you can win the first prize. You need water bottle.
I cleaned it out for you.
All right, so who knows this book? Who's read this book? Yes. If you have not read this book, you need to read this book. Many of us in the room actually read this book once a year to remind ourselves how to think and grow rich. So get this book, read this book, get it on Audible. You can listen to it in your car and just brainwash yourself. Okay.
Our
So-
brains need washing.
They need washing. Your brains are dirty. So positive mental attitude is really a concept that came out of this book by Napoleon Hill, and it's identified as a contributing factor to success. So how many people in the room, again, I ask this almost every time, want a successful Young W business? Yes, you wouldn't be here otherwise, right?
Talk me into it.
And so one of his proteges, W. Clement Stone, also talks about it in his book called Success Through a PMA, Positive Mental Attitude. So another good resource for you as you work on your PMA, your positive mental attitude. And just so you know, sometimes it's hard to define something unless we define what it's not. So PMA is not negativity, right? It's like the opposite of negativity and defeatism and hopelessness. Now, how many of us experience hopelessness as we're out there prospecting our friends and family out there? Yes. John, talking about your family.
Yes.
Like my family's like hopeless. No, you're not. So it's really our goal to have the kind of positive mental attitude that leaks on people and turns it around. So I wanted to read you a quote about attitude. This is by Charles Swindoll. The longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on life. Attitude to me is more important than facts. It is more important than the past, the education, the money, the circumstances. It's more important than failure, than successes, than what other people think or say or do. It's more important than appearance, giftedness, or skill. It will make or break a company, a church, a home. The remarkable thing is we have a choice every day, don't we? Every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for that day. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the fact that people will act in a certain way. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play on the one string we have, and that is our attitude. I'm convinced that life is 10% of what happens to me, and 90% on how I react to it. Or I like to say, how I respond to it. And so it is with you. You are in charge of your attitude. Okay? Love it. So that's the first one. Now I want to talk about passion. As Denise talked about, I have a passion for design, and that's how I spend my entire career is designing. And I design one thing. I only know one thing. I know recreation and sports facilities. Don't ask me to design, a hotel or a bank or anything like that. But if you need a rec center and a pool, I used to be your guy. I'm not anymore. Once upon a time, Steve used to be your guy. So I have the privilege right now of starting to do some life coaching. And I have a wonderful mentee who I won't mention her name. She's in the room on the second row. And, but we're going through a book about discovering your passion and your calling. And so some of my teaching today is some of the lessons that we went through this week. And so passion is the underlying motivation and energy. Marianne talked about energy as we seek clarity. So it's the underlying motivation and energy behind our life purpose. So how many in the room would really like to discover what your life purpose is? Now, why am I here on this earth, right? I hope there's more than 6 of us. And we're just striving to find exactly what it is our life purpose is. And we talk about it, right, in Young W University, like step number 2 is discovering your why. right? So it's along this life purpose thing. So here's a few things about passion. So passion motivates and energizes us. Passion aligns with our values. Denise just talked about our values and her 4 main values, and she gets a lot of her passion. Those values drive her and her passion. So dreams is the next thing we're going to talk about, and dreams are a window into your heart. So once you understand what your values are and you've sought clarity about what your intentions are, then you can get to your dreams. It's like, what do I want to do with this purpose that I have, this why that I have? And realize that you will have obstacles along the way. So when you're discovering your passion and your life purpose and your calling, the way you know you're on the right path is something blocks it. And so when something blocks it, you have a choice. You can either hit that wall and turn around and say, I guess this wasn't the way, or you can be creative and say, I wonder how I get around this wall. Right?
Yeah.
Do I go around the wall? Do I go over the wall? Do I dig a tunnel under the wall? How do I get around that obstacle? So here's a question that you might want to write down. Why do we desire our dreams? And I have done this wheel before, but I'm going to draw the life wheel again for you. I can make it bigger. So on your paper, draw a circle and make it into 8 pie shapes. Like that.
Oh my gosh, is it this one? Is it this one that you're doing? Maybe I just opened.
Wait to know your notes well enough to
I
access it.
So we call this the life wheel. Okay? So this is relevant to everybody in the room because you're human, and it has 8 pieces of the pie. It has your health. It has personal growth. It has God. It has community. How many people think the people in this room are your community?
Yes.
I'm very thankful for all of you because
we're thankful for you.
Oh.
thank you, and Dee. She's awesome. Family, work. And so for many of you in the room, work is not only the job that you have Monday through Friday, but it's also the work that you're doing within your own, you have your business. And then, of course, there's money, or I like to call it wealth and prosperity. Okay, so if you thought about this as a bullseye, like archery, let's say you're standing back there where Linda is, and you've got your bow and arrow pointed at this target. On your little graph, I'd like you to rate yourself. I know, every one of us is going to have you rate yourself. rate yourself, and how close to the bullseye are you getting in your health, right? We're all on a health journey, right? Because as we get older, we're either growing or we're dying, and eventually we're all going to die. But we're going to try to stay as healthy as possible, right? That's why we're all in Dr. Wallach's 90 for Life program. So if you're really unhealthy, you're either off the target or you're out here in the ring. If you're feeling the most fantastic you've ever felt, give yourself a nice score in that kind of area. Personal growth. It's these kinds of things. It's like, are you leaders or readers? Are you reading? Are you doing 30 minutes a day of developing yourself within? If you are, here. If you haven't started that program yet, you might be out here. Where are you with your creator? Where are you in a community? If you're a hermit, you're out here. If you're coming on Tuesday nights and you're in every Super Saturday, and you are plugged in, you're going to convention, you're going to Leadership Summit, and you're part of this community, you're in the bullseye. Okay? How about your home living environment? How do you feel about the place that you live? Okay? If it's something that you're like, I hate going home because it's just filled with negativity, it's not laid out properly, it's the architecture is all wrong.
Feng shui doesn't work.
Then you're out here. If you have just the right size within the circle of influence in your world, in your social circle, if you're close to your church, if you're close to your friends, if you live on Pumpkin Ridge in Windsor, Colorado,
Oh.
you might be here. How about your family? How are things going with your significant other, with your brothers, your sisters, your parents, your uncles, people, and so you might have a few dots in here. You'd be like, I am so close to my spouse, but I need to talk to my brother, or I haven't talked to my parents in 2 years. Whatever it is, think about that. Rate yourself on how you're doing with your family. In your work, how do you feel about your job right now? Something like 50 or 60% of Americans really don't like their job at all. Some stats are in the 80%. It's like, really?
Yeah.
I have a hard time believing or thinking about that because I really loved and I was passionate for my work. And I'm passionate about what we do together, Dee and I, in our longevity business. So if you feel great about it, you're towards the bullseye. If you're not feeling good at all about it, and you're out here, what does that tell you? That means it might be time for a change. Either a change in you or change your boss.
Yes.
Okay, how about money? We could do a whole training on money, right? And wealth, prosperity, and a positive mental attitude about your money. Where are you in that right now? Are you financially free? Are you towards the center? Or do you have a lot of debt, student loans, car loans, credit cards, can't meet your bills? You might be on the outer ring here. So after you look at all of that and say, where am I? I mean, that's why I call it the life wheel. It's like my entire life is in this wheel. I hate pie shapes. And Nikki and I like pie. So that's why
Donuts.
yeah, you'll talk about
Oh, it does look like concentric donuts.
So here's some questions for you regarding this. In your life, what really gets you excited? What part of your life are you really excited about right now? For Dee and I, we're really excited about the work. Right? We're right in the middle of this 90-day sprint with our longevity business, and our business grew 62% last month.
Wow.
So, it didn't come easy. It was actually work. It's that work marketing. And so it took a lot of effort, and we're working on it every day, 7 days a week. It's a 90-day sprint. It's not Monday through Friday, then you take a couple days off, and you do it again. So like 60 times a wake up. This is how we learned last year how to become good networkers. Okay. Question number 2: what do you think about even when you aren't doing it?
That's good.
What do you think about when you aren't doing it? I think about this all the time. This
I
is,
love
You're
this
fun.
thing. Tell us more about it, please.
okay. So these are 99 things I want to do before I die, or be, or have. And as part of my daily routine, I look at this every day. I don't read the whole book because it's quite something. But I look at the pictures because the pictures are beautiful. And the pictures are worth 1,000 words, so I read thousands of words just by looking at it. But this is, and not everybody has to do this. I want to make this clear.
But you have to
because-
say what it is, because some people may not know.
Okay, so this is a book that I wrote called Dreams for Life. And it is, which brings me to my next topic, which is dreaming. So whether you have a list that you keep in front of your computer of things that you want to be, do, or have in your lifetime, whether you have a storyboard or a vision board on your wall, whether you put it in a book. I like to have it in a book because it can go with me where I go. And it's a permanent fixture. Atta girl.
It comes with you, actually. I have to.
Thank you. Well, I want to be an inspiration. But yeah, so what do you think about it even when you're not doing it? So thinking about your future, thinking about what it is you want, thinking about the part of your life wheel that's going to get better. Because let's face it, by the time we're done, we want all our bullets, our arrows to be like hitting a target on all categories. We don't want any of these 8 categories to be off kilter, right? Question number 3, what things in life do you do that you give your best energy to? So what is your best self? And what part of the wheel are you giving your best self? All right, so let's talk about dreams. Here's a few things about dreams. Dreams are visual images. That's why I like pictures. I'm a visual learner. Other people learn and are passionate about other things. I'm a very visual learner. And visual images do it for me. Dreams reveal deep desires. That's why the question. So this book is actually just the answer to one question. And here's the question. You might want to jot this down. What do I want to be, do, or have in this life? What do I want to be, do, or have in this life? And sit down for a couple of hours and just do a brain dump on that. And as my son, who actually asked me to do this 4 years ago, he says, Dad, the first 30 are going to be pretty easy, as you're doing the brain dump. He says the ones that come after that, you're going to have to dig really deep. That was true. The deep stuff comes out in some of when I look at the travel stuff was easy. Like how many people in love to travel? Yes, people like me. It's funny as friends go through this book, they're like, I'd like to go on Dream 66 with you. It's like we're taking reservations. So those were easy, the travel ones, because we think about travel all the time. But the things that were hard were like, I wanted to write a book someday. I want to.
Wait, you have a check mark.
I know, because I have my first book. I want to create a children's story book of architecture. Mostly for my grandkids that aren't here yet. Things I have to marry off my, children. Just to get things in the right order.
One down, one to go.
Yeah. But, deep stuff like I wrote this. I want to retire early from architecture and construction. Now, if I hadn't have written this down, would it have happened? I don't know. But here's the deal, is if you write stuff down, you're on your way. It's like the first step of a long journey. It's like a journey starts with the first step. What's the quote?
Yeah, whatever.
It's like that.
The journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first.
Oh, he's also the quote expert.
Like I wrote this down before Denise bought her car. It's like I want a Tesla someday. So, so thank you for letting me drive yours.
Maybe it's a habit check.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a little bit of a
Sometimes
check
sharing
there.
your dreams can actually, encourage others to do things like, stuff that's on your book.
Yeah.
Like dream number 90. I should just go here. It was like the last one. I wrote down 90 of them the first time. And my 90th one, so Dig Deep Dad, was this. I want to design and build a community center for a third world village. Okay, so that wasn't something like I had on the forefront of my mind when I started this, but as I was running out of travel options, I was like,
Maybe.
I should do something for someone else. Something for someone who can never pay me back. And so I was thinking about there's all these third world villages that they should have good community centers too. And so I'll wrap up this section was saying, 3 years ago, Brady, my son, who had me do this whole exercise, he calls me up from Ghana, West Africa, and he says, Dad, you know that dream you have of designing a community center for a third world village? I was like, I hadn't thought about it.
Oh my gosh, I just got goosebumps.
Yeah.
And there's only 3 people in the world at that point that knew my dream of this. Brady, Bethany, and Dee. 3 people. He's like, you know that dream you have? It's like, oh yeah. He goes, are you ready?
Dee didn't know?
No, Dee didn't know. She was 1 of 3. Fact check. 3.
Keep up.
Sometimes I just don't know. So I said, I first said, no, I'm not ready. I'm busy. But then I said, yes, I'm ready. And he says, great, I'm going to come. He was in Africa. He said, I'm going to come home. You design it, and we're going to raise money. We're going to build this literacy center for this little village in Ghana, West Africa. And I was like, okay, come on home. So we came home. This is a picture of me and Brady and his girlfriend, now wife.
I'm gonna give you a standing ovation.
Yeah, so
Wow.
now, so that was a sketch of it, but now it's done.
Yeah.
And you go on Facebook, enter Untold International, and see a new picture of how it looks. So I'm going to wrap up with affirmations. Okay, so this kind of ties a bow on the whole talk today about positive mental attitude, your passion, and your dreams. What do you do every day that gets you to all of these things? And so, like the law of gravity, there's a law called the law of attraction, and it's working whether you believe it or not. So you might as well go ahead and believe it, because I'm telling you, it works. Right? Okay, so thoughts are things. We all have heard the quote from Henry Ford that says, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right.
That's right.
Okay? So thoughts are things, and so we talk to ourselves all the time. So what are you telling yourself? Are you telling yourself positive things, or are you telling yourself, I can't do that? I'll never have that. My family is a mess. It's never going to be great. I don't believe there's a God. My personal growth, I don't care about it. Are you telling you those kinds of things, or are you saying, God is great, my marriage is awesome, I'm going to have all the wealth and prosperity that I need? And so I wanted to share with you just a couple of nuggets of how Dee and I use affirmations every day within the life wheel. This proves that we're on a positive path because we're saying, hey, mind, we're not going to think those negative things. We're going to think these things. Okay? You're washing your brain from the negativity to the positivity. So let's just start here, and we'll go clockwise.
Yeah.
Yes, which is a nice way to think about it.
Can you put an arrow?
Sure.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
If I was to put an arrow at it. Okay, so health. So here's something that we say to ourselves every day. My health is my #1 priority. I am responsible for my body. I am strong and vibrant in body, heart, and spirit. Okay? Saying this over and over. We say it twice a day. Once first thing in the morning, once right before we go to sleep. Personal growth. I'm committed to constant and never-ending improvement. This tells my mind, get used to it. I'm going to learn the rest of my life. It's one of my values, just like Denise, to learn every day. Learning is easy and enjoyable and fun. I'm telling my brain, it'll be fun.
Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey.
For God, I say God's purpose for me is to help other people with their health, financial, and time freedom. Okay? So I involve God in my whole life purpose that is our longevity business, right? Helping people with their health, finance, and time. Under community, this involves you. You're my community with joy and gratitude. I welcome an abundance of positive people and experiences into my life. So you guys are the positive people. These are my experiences. Come to my experiences with me. Regarding the living environment, my home. We want our home to be filled with love, joy, peace, and happiness. Okay? And I remain grounded and centered all the time. Okay? That has to do with the stillness, the peace that we want our home. We want it to be like the sanctuary, right? We go out of the sanctuary and into the world and do our thing, but we always come home to that stillness. Number 6, family. I tell Dee every day, and she tells me, I say, you're a magnificent person.
You were too
I love that our marriage is becoming deeper, stronger, and more loving every day. Now, what would this do to your relationship if you said this to your significant other? I love that our marriage is becoming deeper, stronger, and loving, more loving every day. Well, you know what? It's going to get deeper, it's going to get stronger, and it's going to become more loving every day. So if that's something you want, if it's deep within you as a desire, then tell your brain, this is what I'm going to think about. This is, I'm going to wash you. Okay? On work. My work in the world becomes more fulfilling, inspiring, fun, and lucrative every day. So this is my expectation of work. This is my intention, Marianne.
I love it.
Every day. That it's going to be fulfilling, it's going to be inspiring, it's going to be fun. How many people someday think, my job is not fun? Oh, good, everyone's having fun, John. Someday.
Fulfilling, inspiring, what was that?
Fulfilling, inspiring, fun, and lucrative.
Ooh.
Yeah, how many people want to make money out of their work? Which is our last category. I'm grateful to God for everything I have and everything I received. I'm rich and prosperous in every way and blessed with a constant and abundant flow of health, wealth, and happiness. What would happen if you said this every day to yourself? I am blessed with.
Can you make a copy of that?
Sure. I'm rich and prosperous in every way and blessed with a constant and abundant flow of health, wealth, and happiness.
Wow.
So I hope that helps. You with your positive mental attitude, with your passion and discovering what your purpose is and what your desires truly are, and helping you get your dreams through your daily MO, your affirmations. So thank you for your time today. Thanks everyone online.
Thank you. You guys love this?
I love that.
So, how did you make this book?
You know, Longevity has a photo division called Snap to Finish.
Was it a snap?
The hardest part was getting all the high resolution photographs of things that hadn't happened yet.
Oh,
Yeah.
high res.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
'cause
there's
it doesn't like you to use low res.
No low res.
Well, unless you're doing one of those little bitty books,
No,
you
no,
can get
no.
by. A big one like that. Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
And I love, I mean, yeah. So I didn't plan on talking about this, but we're coming upon the holidays, hate to tell you. Or maybe love to tell you. I love the holidays. This is the busiest time of year for our different verticals like Snap to Finish and Heritage Makers. And I literally spend, I don't even tell Tom. I'm like, I spend so much money in Heritage Makers on Snap to Finish every Christmas for making gifts for people because it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And I think right now, Linda, isn't there you may know, I don't know. I think there's a special on Christmas cards right
Yeah, yeah, I think there's some discounts, and plus,
Yeah.
you can buy points, you can do the club once a month and get 50 points, and you
Yeah, I
get
do
$60 worth
Yeah.
of,
I do the points every month,
Yeah.
and then I just save up for the end of the year, which is right now.
yeah.
So anyway, this is so, I mean, if there's one thing you want to get clear on, this is such a beautiful way to keep track of who you want to be doing have, right?
Yeah.
Doing have. You can do it in a book. And you're right, Steve. I mean, energy is miraculous. You put it out there and the universe is constantly conspiring for you. You put it on paper, you put it visually so that you can see it, and it is amazing what happens. So thank you.
If anybody wants to see this.
Yes, at the back. Please do. Clean hands.
Clean hand.
And you were talking, one of the things that I love is you were talking about a 90-day sprint in your business. And so what I want to tell you is that balance is a myth. You will never have a complete balance in your life. It just doesn't happen.
No.
But what you can do, and especially if you're doing like a 90-day, or you're doing the challenge right now in longevity, 30, 60, or 90 days at the very most, you can kind of put some other things aside and really focus your energies. And that's a really powerful way to build your business, is in 30, 60, or 90-day sprints. And then, okay, so what I love about Steve and Dee is that they are pure explorers. They love to travel. You know about that about them. And they've been to more states and more countries than almost anybody I know, except for my Sushi Hana guy, Andrew. He's been all over the world. You go, oh, I'm going to Oklahoma. He's like, oh, you gotta go. Like, he's been to every single state in the United States. Sushi Hana, right up the street. And, but, you know,